A very good day to all of you out there. This is admav here with another episode of admav's Corner. Hello and welcome. I hope you're all doing well today on this September 9th, 2022. We're already well into September. The transition from August to September was pretty subtle. I didn't really notice that the months had changed already. And when I looked at the calendar this past week while I was working, I was like, oh yeah, it's September already. And I should have known. I mean, every month we get assignment changes at work, and we get assigned to different areas to do different tasks. But it just went over my head. Days just blend into each other. You know how it goes. That feeling was further exacerbated by the pandemic, when everyone was just staying at home and the days kept passing. It's almost as if, it's been this one long year since 2020. I'm sure you've heard that sentiment from many different people. And that feeling still manages to hold to this day. On top of that, there's just a general feeling of time passing much faster as you get older. And so the two things kind of combine, and here we are, September. There's only 4 months left, actually less than 4 months left in the year. And this part of the year always seems to just, go downhill. And I don't mean that in a negative way, like things just turn bad necessarily. It's just that when I mean by going downhill, it just goes down so fast. Like from September to the holiday season in December, it's like a blink. And you just don't know where the time goes. But then the climb back to summertime feels like it takes forever. So, yeah, we have maybe 2 weeks left of this good weather. If we're lucky, 3, but that is very unlikely. So, just enjoy the summer and what's left of it. We're at the like I said in the previous episode, we're at the tail end of it. If you haven't had the chance to go to the beach or anything like that, like any summer activity, summer hiking, go on a picnic, just go out and about, soak up some sun, get some vitamin D in you. And no, I don't mean that. I don't mean that in the joke sense, I don't need to explain that one. I think you guys will get it. Anyways, I have had an average week. I think that's, the typical case with me, and I'm sure with many of you, when asked to describe how your week went, ups and downs. The thing that sticks out is that my sleeping habits continue to plague me. I work from 4 p.m. to midnight. On a regular basis. So I always sleep late anyway, but I'm sleeping much later than I need to. When I get home from work at midnight, especially with the work that I do, there's a lot of physical stuff, physical labor. I don't know if you all will understand this, but when I get home, I just feel a bit too tired to just go to sleep. It's like I'm too tired to sleep, if that makes any sense. I need some time to wind down and relax. But sometimes or actually, no, it's not sometimes. What am I talking about? That's what I'm discussing here. It's been a pattern the last 2 months where I just stay up way later than is probably healthy. I end up falling asleep around 4 or 5 a.m. And I should really be sleeping at like 2, latest at 3 o'clock in the morning. But time gets away from me, and every night I go, okay, tonight I'm sleeping late, but tomorrow I'm going to fix this. I'm going to force myself to sleep earlier. No, time just gets away from you. You just don't even realize it, and the pattern continues. It's a bad habit. I know. And that's usually how bad habits work, is that you don't notice them happening as they happen in real time until after the fact, and then you realize that the habit has been perpetuated even further. So I really need to find a solution for that. It didn't help, I recently got a graphics card. I got it last weekend. Prices went down since they were first released a few years ago, like a couple years ago rather. These NVIDIA cards, the RTX cards, have been so overpriced because of all of the Bitcoin mining, I guess. I know very little about crypto, but I do know it has affected the electronics industry because of the high demand for these GPUs to mine crypto. So only recently have the prices gone back down to what they should have been, like retail price. And I took the opportunity and grabbed one. I got a RTX 3060 Ti. I've been very happy with it lately, although it hasn't gotten too much use. And the reason for that is I haven't been gaming much in the last 2 years. And part of the reason why I got this new graphics card, other than to update the previous one I had, which was the RX 480, which is, by the way, it's still functional, still going strong, but it was just time for an upgrade. But yeah, the reason why I got it too is so that I could sort of try to get back into gaming in any capacity, whether it's casual or, but I haven't played much games. I mean, other than maybe the game I played the most so far is NBA 2K, which is the easiest one to run. It's actually a very easy game to run. I could run it, well enough on the RX 480. But with the 3060 Ti, I could really just get crazy frame rates, and it's super silky smooth. And 2K is just an easy game to pick up. Not an easy game to play though. Very frustrating. I suck at these sports games. I suck at 2K, and I've only really been getting into playing it recently, and there's a lot to learn. It's actually interesting because you learn a lot about basketball playing that game. Anyways, I don't want to delve too deep into that. But yeah, it was not a great way to cool down last night, or to de-stress, because I was getting frustrated at how poorly I played and how badly I played my favorite team, Toronto Raptors. Let's go, champs soon. But yeah, I was just tired. It's okay. Good things happen, right? That's what we talk about every week. Good things happen in your week, as well as not so great things. And you also got to be able to appreciate the good things. And one of the good things that happened to me this week is that I got to know a fellow coworker, fairly new to the company. Obviously I'm not going to say his real name because that's what I do here. I give him code names. I'll call this friend Razor. All right, Razor is a very, very good guy. Very positive guy. Smiles a lot, all the time actually when I see him. And he's also gone through some change these past couple of years since the pandemic, and some growth. And he's someone that I can sort of relate to and relate with when it comes to this sort of thing, self-improvement, self-growth, because he's also gone through some things. And so I was glad to get to know him a little bit. And one of the conversations that I found interesting recently was, first of all, your ability to assess a situation with someone that you're in some kind of relationship with. And I'm not talking about dating. I'm not talking about romantic relationships. I'm specifically referring to friendship, platonic relationships. Your ability to assess that and whether or not it's going well, or that it's a net negative on your life. And specifically when that person becomes sort of an emotional, for lack of a better term, an emotional burden on yourself. Especially if you're like me or my friend Razor, we're both empaths, and we tend to want to help people, which results sometimes in taking on their problems a little too much. to the point where it then becomes your problem when it isn't. Being able to assess that is tricky. Being able to assess that is very tricky because, especially when you've been friends with somebody for so long, somebody that you're good friends with, of course, you don't want to abandon them when it comes to times of need. But when they start using you sort of like as a crutch or treating you like you're their therapist, and this happens too, by the way, in romantic relationships where someone will look to their partner as somebody that might be able to help fix them. But that's not our job. That's not your job as a friend. You're not a therapist. You're not trained to do this. You're not trained to help someone with their mental health issues. As friends, what we can do is be there for them when we can, when we have the capacity to. We can be there for them, listen to them, because, as we've talked about in previous episodes, conversation is huge and is a very healthy thing, and it actually tremendously helps someone going through tough times. But for other people, they need more than that, and that's when therapy comes in. But therapy is something that cannot be given by a friend because they're not trained. But sometimes those in need treat it as such, as if you or I are, from the standpoint that we're helping out our friends, sometimes we're viewed as therapists, which shouldn't be the case, because then it becomes a toxic relationship, to put it briefly. And that's the sort of discussion that I had with my coworker, Razor. Razor had a friend who did this exact thing to him. He was just being a friend to someone that he knew, and eventually, I'm not going to go through the whole story, obviously, but yeah, eventually that friend blew up on him, and Razor didn't deserve it. But because the other friend had become so reliant on Razor for being there, it felt like he was getting abandoned, probably, I would say. He felt like Razor didn't care, which I can understand. I can empathize with. But we all have our own stuff to deal with. Razor has his own things to deal with too. And on this podcast, we always stress out, or rather, I always stress out about, or not stress out, I always stress the importance of self-love and self-care. And so I know it sounds selfish, but you have to take care of yourself first. And if you don't take care of yourself and you take on other people's problems, it can make your problems even worse. And you could also worsen your friend's issues because you're in no shape or capacity to be able to being able to take this on from somebody else. So you have to kind of learn how to gauge yourself and not to be taken advantage of when situations like that occur, which sometimes is tricky, like I mentioned, because you don't want to hurt your friend. You don't want to be a bad friend. But when you're overly caring, such as myself, sometimes that tends to happen. And then it starts to feel like it's your responsibility to help this person out, to fix this person's problems, when in fact that's far from the actual case. They need to fix their own problems. Even the therapist really won't fix their problems. And what I mean by that is the therapy is, a blessing. It's amazing that it's around because it can help, or it's helped people get through or live with their mental health issues. But at the end of the day, the person experiencing the mental health issues was still the one who went in to see the therapist. And when the therapist isn't there, they're the ones they're the ones who have to contend and deal with their mental health issues themselves. So it's still all on them. there's people to help them along the journey. But at the end of the day, it's their will, it's their voluntary action to want to try to be able to cope and live with the mental health issues that they are having a hard time with. Specifically, like, for me, with depression, it's still something that I experienced despite all of these improvements in my life, but I'm able to handle it better. I put in a lot of work so that I could learn how to deal with it, which I have, and I'm still trying to find better ways to deal with it. I'm always approaching it like a student, as somebody who thinks that there's always something to learn or something to improve. And that sort of falls into the same category here. So just sort of assess yourself. And if you have the capacity to help someone else, that's great. Helping your friends, being there for them is an amazing thing and is a net positive for the world. So I do encourage that. But just like what we've been talking about, just gauge yourself a little bit so that you can be able to, so you have the ability to help your friend, but also not neglecting yourself, because like I mentioned previously, that tends to happen. So enjoy these last days of sun. Summer of 2022 is ending, and yeah, love yourself. And if you're having a hard time, I'm with you. Hang in there and enjoy the weekend. Take care, guys. Until next time.